Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TARDIS Zone. And this is the TARDIS Zone Talks, and I'm your host, Nolly Boy. How are you? Hope you're all doing well indeed. Right. So, RTD did a little bit of an interview where he discussed the possibility of Doctor Who going on hiatus. And of course, there's been an epic meltdown from all of the little sellouts. Yes, sellout fans who will literally watch shite to keep Doctor Who on the air. And we've seen some posts in regards to that. People saying that we should support season 2 to make sure that it doesn't go off air and all of this other rubbish. So you are willing to compromise your standards just to keep this shite on TV. But that's what we're going to discuss today because, Junk Food Man is having a bit of a crisis as well. He did a couple of videos last night in denial. Listen to this. This is brilliant. You're going to love this. So RTD, according to this man, RTD is lying. So 2 days before Series 2 or Season 2 is launching, RTD comes out with the hiatus comment, right? And apparently he's lying. So here's the question I'm going to throw back at you, Junk Food Man. Why would the showrunner, 2 days before the launch of a critical season, in fairness, after the poor reception that Season 1 got, come out and say the things that he said 2 days before the launch of Season 2? It makes no sense. No showrunner in their right mind would do anything like that. No showrunner would do that, right? So, you could spin all you want, right? Call me a leprechaun like you've been doing, because you're a racist piece of shit, and blame me and blame other fans for this. But look in the mirror. And I've said it to other people out there as well, right? Billy Who, Tharis, and all of these other little idiots out there, yeah? Look in the mirror, right? Because if this show does go on hiatus, look at yourselves, right? But what will happen is you will gaslight everybody as well. And you will blame fans like me, right? Because we didn't get behind this crap. We've been telling you for years that the standards have lowered. We've told you that the quality of the show has not been good enough, right? And if this show does go on hiatus, right, it's your fault. Look in the mirror. Your fault, because yous all supported this bullshit, right? Yous all supported this bullshit. So the fact that yous are all having a meltdown is kind of funny to me. Like, what is melting down for? Yous are responsible. Not fans like me. I'm after getting, listen, already the private messages on X have started. I've been called transphobic. I've been called sexist. I've been called racist. I've been called this, that, and the other, right? And this is even before the season starts. So I know for the next 8 weeks now, I'm going to have these muppets in me DMs telling me how much they hate me and how evil I am. Dr. Evil. Because I speak the truth and I won't compromise my opinions or compromise my beliefs when it comes to Doctor Who. Now, a bit of casting news came out earlier today as well. Graham Norton is going to be part of the Intergalactic Song Contest episode. For anybody that doesn't know Graham Norton is originally from Ireland. He moved to the UK and he has the Graham Norton show, but he's a gay man. So we have another gay man in Doctor Who, right? So, if people want to know why this season and why Doctor Who has failed to light up the imagination of the British public and fans out there, it's because RTD has decided that he's going to use this show now, just like Chips did with all these fucking feminist shite. He's going to use this to push certain ideologies and certain certain causes. Now, here's the thing: Captain Jack, Madame Vastra, Jenny. Before anybody starts throwing, oh look, he's homophobic. I'm not. I have actually no problem with gay, lesbian, and bisexual characters in Doctor Who. I do have a problem with the TQ plus, of course, and I've always made that clear. But the problem that we have in modern Who is that they're defined by who they fuck, right? Or they're defined by the pronouns that they have, right? Or they're defined by some other ideology bullshit, right? It's not about character development with RTD, right? RTD is not doing character development here. Someone made a great point who happens to be in the LGBTQ plus community in relation to Rose Noble, criticising the lack of character development in relation to that character, and they're absolutely spot on. And this is why we call this out, because we could see it with our own two eyes, right? So if this show goes on hiatus, all you little shills and sellouts that are all excited for season 2 and loved season 1, right? Yous are responsible if this show goes on hiatus, and don't you dare blame Doctor Who fans on this. If RTD and Chris Chibnall had it delivered, we wouldn't be in this position, right? And if he's had if RTD or the BBC, I should say, if the BBC actually listened to real fans and not listen to all you little muppets, we wouldn't be in this position. Doctor Who would be doing well right now. Now, as you know, there was an April Fool's joke going around in relation to Amazon Prime taking over Doctor Who, but that April Fool's joke came from an actual rumor that was going around for weeks and months now, and it's resurfaced again. And apparently, there may be a chance that Doctor Who could go on to Amazon Prime. Now, I'm not too sure about that. I don't know who'd want to gamble on this, but if anybody probably is going to gamble on it, it probably would be Amazon. They've gotten the James Bond franchise as well, as you know. So, could they take on Doctor Who as well? I'm not quite so sure about that, but we'll keep an eye on that rumour because it seems to be gathering a little bit of pace since this hiatus talk. But here's the thing I would say to anybody out there that owns a streaming company. If you're going to take on Doctor Who, there's one thing you have to do, first of all, is dump RTD and Bad Wolf Studios and make sure they're not part of any deal that you make if you do make a deal, right? If this rumour turns out to be anything, right? I'm not saying it is, but it's been a rumour that's been going around, and then the April Fool's thing, that's how the April Fool's thing came along, because everybody knows that Amazon and the rumour, so that's why the April Fool's joke came along. But the rumour hasn't gone away. So we'll see what happens there, right? Now, also, Shooty Gatwa is going to be busy. Yeah, Shooty Gatwa is going to be busy because the latest news here is, right, and this kicks the Christmas special 2025 into touch. In fairness, I didn't ever think that they were going to be able to do the Christmas special with the filming, but because the filming schedule. But Shooty Gatwa is cast as a playwright, Christopher Malraux. So he's doing another play. And he let slip as well that he was gifted his sonic screwdriver. So it seems more than likely that Shooty Gatwa is on the way out. Now, you just have to look at all of the stuff that's coming out about Shooty, and now we've got this thing from BBC themselves saying that he's going to be in this play. So very interesting stuff coming out indeed. But this whole situation, I'm going to be bringing on guests now in a minute, so don't worry about that. It's not just going to be me. But for me, right, if you're looking at this logically, right, it's not looking good for Doctor Who, right? Now, as I said, I want to make it clear. I would rather this show be cancelled than dragged through the mud anymore, right? Ideally, ideally though, I would love BBC, to go back to basics, right? They've made a mistake bringing RTD back, right, or allowing RTD to come back. If it does get cancelled by Disney and BBC do decide that they're going to try give it a go again, they have to go again without any of these fanboys being involved. And Doctor Who has always kind of been very good with fans because, as you know now, a lot of fans have infiltrated, Big Finish and the show itself, and they get to put their input across. I think in the future that has to stop. To be quite honest with you, BBC just have to go and make the best version of Doctor Who and not listen to anybody out there, right? But what I would say is listen to all the criticism that has been aimed at the show over the last few years and learn lessons from that is what I would say. But moving forward, you cannot have any of these Wokie fans anywhere near Doctor Who. You've got to distance yourself from the fans, right? And just make a good TV show, a great TV show. And it is possible for them to make Doctor Who great again, okay? It's not impossible, right? But I want to tell you something. This is not what I want. People think that I want Doctor Who, and Junk Food Man throws that accusation around quite a lot that I want to cancel the show and I want to cancel RTD and I want to do this, that, and the other. No, I just want BBC to do right by the show. And if that means getting rid of RTD or maybe cancelling the show to save it from any further embarrassment, then I'm all for that. But ideally, what I would like to see happen is for them to move away from this, go back to basics, and actually produce a decent TV show. That's all I want. And I'm not going to sell out, right? I'm not going to compromise my beliefs. I'm not going to compromise the way I believe the show should be done. And I'm not going to lower my standards for anybody. And this is what's happened. A lot of fans out there, Doctor Who fans out there, and these fake fans, standards have been lowered. And these people have allowed the standards to be lowered. Whereas fans like me that have been very critical have said, no, we're not lowering our standards. We're not lowering our standards. Why should we lower our standards? Make the show the way it's supposed to be made. And if they did, they'd have a hit on their hands. They don't even realise that if they actually did it properly, right, it will take time to win some fans over again. But if they start doing things properly, see that 2 million that they get in the overnights, I could tell you already straight away if they were doing it right, they'd get 4 million overnights, right? And then that would build up as time went on. And as I said, in the modern era of TV, 8 to 9 million overnights for me for Doctor Who in this modern day would be a success because of the streaming and all of that other stuff, right? Shows like Line of Duty and all of these other shows that BBC have that have been hits are getting 10, 11, maybe 12 million views in some cases, special episodes or whatever, right? So it's not impossible. It's not impossible. Anyway, where is this little video? I'm not going to put the video on screen, but I'm going to let you hear the audio because I can't be asked to put the thing on screen, to be quite honest with you, because I'm all like, I am depressed over this. People think I'm reveling in the fact that Doctor Who is possibly going to be put on hiatus. I'm not. I'm actually gutted if this happens. Because in my life, Junk Food Man tried to make it out that I wasn't even born when the show was actually cancelled the first time. I was 10 years old when the show was cancelled the first time, right? So in my lifetime, there's a possibility that Doctor Who can be canned twice, and it is heartbreaking. People out there with false narratives and all of this saying, I hate the show. I don't hate the show, right? I hate this version of Doctor Who, and I hated Chris Chibnall's version of Doctor Who. But all we've ever asked for is for the standards to be maintained. We do know in certain seasons it drops off a little bit, but it's still recognisable as Doctor Who, right? Not all the stories are always great, right? That happens in a 12 season. Well, we used to get 12 episodes a season or whatever, 13, right? We do know that sometimes some of the stories will be up there and some of them will be down here, middle ground, all of that. Right, we accept that. But when you're getting shite week in, week out, and you're getting told as an audience, especially if you're a white guy, you're a piece of shit, it's going to turn your audience off. Now, maybe these Wokie fans love being told that they're horrible pieces of shit because of the colour of their skin. But I'm sorry, I don't, and I will fight back against that. How fucking dare these people tell me because of the colour of my skin that I'm an incel or whatever the fuck. Planet the incels, right? This is what we've heard about the robot revolution, right? This, and by the way, I will just say out straight, right? If you want this show to go on hiatus, you just know what to do, right? Just don't tune in. Simple as that, or find a different way of watching it, right? See, because I reckon what RTD has done, and this is why I reckon he has actually said about the hiatus, is he's hoping that will spur fans on to watch this season, right? And boost the ratings. But I don't think RTD understands how bad it is, and he's going to be in for a bit of a shock. Because I reckon after the first episode of Robot Revolution, that's it, you've lost your audience. Right, because the reviews for that are absolutely shocking. Now, the only ones that are praising this are the BBC page shills that are doing articles for different. That's why when you're reading an article, go and check out who the journalist is, right? And if they have any connection with BBC whatsoever, my advice is to ignore their review of the episode, because they're going to shill hard and they're going to defend that anyway. Go and read all of the others, and even media outlets that have defended the Jodie Whittaker era, right, and have defended RTD are now coming out against this, and rightly so. So I'm going to see if I can play this clip up towards the mic. As I said, I don't really want to put it up on my screen, so here we go. Hold on, turn the volume up, be great. Right, hope you can hear this.
Very quickly, Series 3. Anyone know anything? Series 3?
I don't know.
I'm asking you guys. You should know more than me.
I don't know anything. I kind of know that the Doctor's reached the status of like Robin Hood. Sometimes there might be a pause, and during that pause, the viewers of News Round Now will grow up a few years and start writing stories, and they'll bring it back. So I have absolute faith that will survive, because I'm living proof of it. And that's what happens to good ideas. No good idea ever dies.
There you go. So that's very telling as far as I'm concerned, right? Okay. And here's the thing, right? Because Mr. Junk Food Man says he's lying. Why, again, answer that question, you muppet. Why would the showrunner 2 days before season 2 premieres come out and say, right? Makes no sense. Right? Makes absolutely no sense. But of course, you'll try and make it make sense. Right? But the bottom line is, right, you look at everybody else, even the staunch supporters of this, the Tharises of the world and the George Share, whatever his name is, Shared, whatever the feck, and all these other fellas are coming out now and they're like, oh, this is not looking good, right? So they're all saying it's not looking good, and you're still persistent with the fact that you're right, and you know better than the showrunner, right? You know better. I was told something very interesting, and if this is true, then I definitely know you're a liar. So I've been told that you might have the same sources as Doomcock's sources. Well, Doomcock has never got anything right on his channel. Nothing. He's been saying Kathleen Kennedy is leaving the last 10, 11 years, how long it is, right? So, you know, you've dug yourself a big hole there, mate. And you're still hoping. Do you know what? When this all blows up in your face, which is probably going to, you're going to have a lot of explaining to do. But I suppose you've already probably laid the tracks for that. You know, you'll come out with some bullshit. But nobody believes you. RTD keeps confirming every time he opens his mouth, he keeps confirming what me and others have been saying all along. And then he'll come out with the shy, well, there's no decision made till after season 2 airs. But that's not what you said. And I want to make that clear. You didn't say that. You said it was already in the can. You said it was already done and dusted. So now you're moving the goalposts again. You're moving the goalposts again, and you're actually saying, oh no, there's no decision made till after season 2 airs. But that's not what you've been saying. So again, you keep trying to move the goalposts, but you keep forgetting that people see what you actually say. What you should do now moving forward is just keep your mouth shut, watch Doctor Who and see what happens, right? See what happens, right? Because the more you open your mouth, the more you're making yourself look foolish to everybody out there. Anyway, I've got a few guests to come on, so I'm going to put the link in the chat there. If I don't recognise anybody, they're not coming on. So there you go. If you want to come on, please do. So there's the link in there. As I said, I won't be bringing anybody on that I don't know. So if I want to come on and give you 2 cents about all of this, what your opinion is, but I have to say, looking at the meltdown, it's glorious. And I will say it is glorious. And I'm actually feckin' laughing me head off at everybody. Because you know what? You only have yourselves to blame, as I keep saying. You only have yourselves to blame. People like me, right, the Bowstrecks, the Garys of the world out there, have been warning you for years about all of this. And all we've gotten is nothing but death threats, abuse, and called every name under the sun. And by the way, just to let you know, little wokies, that's not going to work this year on me, right? I've heard it all now, right? So you can call me all the names that you want, right? It's not going to make a difference to me. The bottom line is that if Doctor Who does go on hiatus, I know who I'm blaming, right? And you can be guaranteed that there's going to be a huge fan backlash, right? And I mean a proper fan backlash from people like me when this show ultimately fades away. Because, as I said, look in the mirror. Yous are responsible, not us, right? Yous are responsible, all right? All we've ever wanted is a good quality show, right? If that is you, Cinnamon, let me how do we figure this out? Can you put your camera on? Yeah, it is you. Okay, Grant, you can knock your camera off now. Right, I'll bring Cinnamon on. Here he is.
Hello.
How are you? Now, we're going to get your 2 cents on all of this. So you've been observing like me, commenting like me. What's your take on all of this?
Well, the penny's finally dropped for some, hasn't it? You know, it reminds me of a bit like Joe Biden. You know, a lot of people were saying even back in 2020, you know, he's not all there. It only took 4 years later for them to realise, oh yeah, he's a bit slow, isn't he? It's some people always say, oh, you just got lucky. Well, not really. It isn't like we just stood out in a field on a rainy day hoping that we'd get electrocuted. Then when we finally did, we said, oh, see, I told you. You know, it's going to happen. It's just, we've been calling this and saying the show isn't in a healthy place. I mean, again, let's call it for what it is. They're putting the most expensive episode, apparently, if I'm hearing this right, the most expensive episode made, which is the Juno Dawson one, and it's not even, and there's a chance it might not even be published or premiered on BBC One because of the match.
FA
If it
Cup final.
goes into extra time or something, yeah. I mean, what does that say? That would never happen in the Tennant run. That would never happen before. I mean, has this ever happened before? Am I just having a moment here? When has this ever happened before?
Do you know what would have happened?
The most expensive episode.
Do you know what would have happened, though? Do you know what would have happened, Cinnamon? What would happen is if that match goes into extra time and penalties, you would have had Gary Lineker on the screen say, switch over to BBC Two
Yeah,
to watch
actually,
the
yeah.
extra time and the penalties. That's what would have happened. But
Normally
the
it does,
fact
yeah.
that, yeah. So this is the thing. This is
Because they plan for
unprecedented.
it. They plan for it. They're aware that, like, that again, you have to prepare for all options, and I know that's true because I've seen it happen myself when I've watched a match and it's gone on. They'll say if it's a scheduling error, I was like, oh, it should have been on 10 minutes ago. They'll say, yeah, they'll switch over to this channel. It'll happen on there, but to not even do that, what does that say about it?
Well, BBC seem to have no faith in it. That's what that indicates to me. Now, I'm not just saying this to be negative. That's what that indicates to me. Any logical person out there would see that as that, because this is because even one article said that it would be unprecedented if this happened. Because I know from watching previous FA Cup finals, because we're football people. We watch football matches, and I remember a couple of FA Cup finals going to extra time and penalties, and they've told the viewer to switch over to BBC Two. This would be you know what I mean? So they don't disrupt the scheduling on BBC One. But the fact that they're willing to disrupt, the fact that they're willing to just let the FA Cup continue on BBC One and relegate Doctor Who possibly to just BBC iPlayer and Disney Plus, that's unprecedented. That is
And yeah,
unprecedented.
everything's fine, and there's no problem, and everyone's just making stuff up, and yeah, everything's all hunky dory. I mean, you've even got people now even sort of addressing, the fact that it's very contradictory. In one breath, they're talking up the views and putting spin on it, saying how amazing it is, and then in the next breath, they're coming out in interviews saying, "No, it's like Robin Hood," and I hope the future generation can pick it up because no good idea ever dies. Well, except for when it does, except for when it's done to death.
He is right, though. I mean, he's right in that aspect that a good idea like Doctor Who will never die if someone else comes in, takes the rest, and makes it their own, but does it justice. In that little thing, he's right, right. But the thing about it is, he was to come back. He was supposed to be the big savior. He was supposed to set things right with this show after the Chibnall era, and he has just gone completely the
He
other
was
way.
supposed to be that very same person he's talking about. The whole, in the future, someone can pick it up and do it again. That was supposed to be you. Well, you were supposed to come back. And again, if anything, it's a sort of double-edged sword because on one hand, I have enjoyed the episodes more under him, but it's external. It's everything surrounding the show and the future of it. It's just been. I mean, again, like I seen him on comment as well. And he pointed out, have we ever seen such discussion on discourse around the show's future? We weren't talking about it like this in the Moffat era, or even really in the to this level, to this scale.
No.
This is it's right on the eve of a brand new season, and like
Listen.
the whole discourse for months and months and months.
Yeah, listen, I made me name Jordan the Chib era, right? That's how I came about Jordan the Chib era of Doctor Who. And even then, even though the fans were outraged about what was happening, I have to say that I think this is even worse. This is even worse. Now, what makes it not seem so bad is the fact that most fans during the Whittaker Chibs era actually walked away because of the abuse and the grief that they were getting. This time around, some of us that are still left, it's not as intense. I will say it's not as intense as it was during the Chib and Jodie era, but there does seem to be more credence to the fact that there's a possibility that this show is going away. Like there's even people that I've seen that were defending Chibs and Jodie, and they're even, as you said, coming to the realization that hang on, maybe something is not quite right here. But
you know what? It perfectly mirrors. It perfectly mirrors.
Just one more thing.
Yeah.
But I just want to say to those fans, look at yourselves in the mirror. Yous are responsible for this. The show goes. It's not my fault, or Cinnamon's fault, or Bolstreck's fault, or Gary's fault, or Dan from the Spacebook's fault, or whoever else you want to have a go at. It's not our fault. We tried to warn yous since he's come back, right? And nobody'd listen. And if he's hadn't listened and called him out after season 1, right? I'm telling you now, maybe there would have been changes made behind the scenes, right? And yes, it would have been messy and we probably wouldn't have got season 2 for another year or whatever. But I think most fans would have been okay with that if they knew that it was going to be done properly. And that's the thing. And I'll still say this, right? I still live in the hope that someone comes along and does this properly. Do I really want this show to be cancelled? No, absolutely not. It'd be heartbreaking. But if it's going to go through what RTD is putting it through and continue to go down this route, then I would rather see it cancelled. I would. Because I don't want the legacy. Listen, the legacy of this show is already in tatters, right? Okay? They all of those men that played the role, right? Their legacies are being spit on right now, right? Especially those classic doctors. Their
And all for
legacy
what?
is being spit
Because
on.
Russell can't keep his finger out of our faces.
Exactly. But go on, say what you were going to say there. I just wanted to get that out, Cinnamon, so go ahead.
It perfectly mirrors the past. You know,
Yeah.
in '98 when it was briefly cancelled, which again, and then they had to walk that back and say, oh no, it just taking a rest for a year with the Colin Baker era. There was massive uproar. There was hell, they even made cringy songs about it. You know, there was a big ferocious backlash because people wanted Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And then when they cancelled it for the second time and for good, there wasn't. From what I wasn't around at the time, but from what I've obviously heard and obviously looking at it, there wasn't as much. You know, it's almost like, oh, well, they got the Doctor Who back. You know, they said, okay, we'll bring it back in a year. They got it back, and then when it went again and it went away again, it was like, well, okay, well, there's not much we can do now. There was less reaction the second time. There was almost like people weren't enjoying it. You know, people wouldn't have reveled in it or took pleasure in it. But when it went again, when it went away properly, it was just less resistance, and it's a bit like that now. People. Well, see, it seems like there's less resistance because there's less of us there. And another thing was, again, we don't want the indoctrination. It's we're not asking for the world, and anyway, we're not asking for the world and his dog. We just wanted high quality stories. And again, I find it ironic that the person who brought Doctor Who back in 2005 could be the one that takes it away or leads it to going away. It's a sort of strange irony there, but you know, it's just. It's just we deserve better. You know, again, why are words like incel even making its way into Doctor Who? It's supposed to be fun. Like, I know it's a bit off topic, but this whole Superman, and you've got people riffing on it and just sort of digging and looking for things, or he's weak, or he's this, or it's looking for the smallest things to moan about. Just because it's not a certain person directing it, or it's just not because it's not the right person that they want in the costume. End of the day, it seems like a fun movie that's inspired by the comics. Now, yeah, not everyone's a comic book reader. And
No,
that's
neither
okay.
am I. But I'll interject there because I'm like you, right? I watched this version of Superman because I was still bitter over the fact that, you know, Henry was staying and then they got rid of him. But I watched the trailer, like everyone, the little teaser with Crypto. Obviously, I did enjoy that, and I said that was the best part of the trailer, and I meant it. But then they obviously put out the extended little clip, and I was like, "Do you know what? This doesn't look half bad." But what convinced me to watch this movie now is the Zack Snyder fans and their behavior, the people that you're actually talking about, right? They have forced me now to say, yeah, do you know what? I'm going to just watch this out of spite, just to spite them, because they're so fucking childish. Like, get over it. Man of Steel 2 is not happening. Zack Snyder's not coming back. James Gunn's in charge, whether you like it or not. And it's done, right? So I will watch this Superman movie now. And I did say it to him, because you know me, I'm outspoken. I did say, James, just don't fuck this up, right? Just give us a Superman movie that we can all get behind. That's it. That's all we want. And if he delivers that, then fine. I don't like the comic booky element of it, but I'm willing to give it a go this time. Do you know what I mean? maybe it will work out. Maybe it will be a good Superman movie. And if it's not a good Superman movie, well then fine. Fine. Well done, Schneider fans. You were right. Well done. But what's to celebrate? If this movie fails, we probably won't see Superman again. Why would
Exactly.
DC
If
then?
it fails, it's not as if he's going to get Snyder back and it's all going to go back to how it was. That's done now.
So get behind the movie, support the fucking thing. But it's the same with Doctor Who, as you said. I know you were going off topic, but it's the same with Doctor Who. You can't just sit back idly by and watch this man to continue the route that he's going down with this show. The audience has walked away. The audience has walked away. And I don't... Listen, I'm just going to dispel this notion once and for all that Disney are happy with Doctor Who. If Disney were happy with Doctor Who, right, we would not be sitting here today, right, listening to RTD talk about possible hiatus. They would have already made their decision on season 3. We'd know about it by now. They wouldn't wait. They wouldn't have to wait. If this was such a success, they'd be singing to the rooftops about it.
If they wanted to, they could have commissioned a whole season 3 after Boom. Again, we have to go back. They commissioned, I think they were estimating around 4 million for Rose. That's kind of what they were expecting. I think they got 7. So they got more than they wanted. And they commissioned a whole new season and a Christmas special. I think obviously not the Christmas Invasion. I was already supposed to happen, but season 2 and the Runaway Bride, that was all commissioned after the success of Rose, I believe. Now that's just one episode, and you contrast that today, where we now have to wait until the full season comes out. And again, mind you, Disney have already seen these episodes. These episodes are done. Now, obviously, there might be some very, very, obviously, we've got one coming out tomorrow. Now, that's completely done. Now, of course, there might be some...
Actually, hold on. Does it come out... I want to ask, does it come out at 12 midnight tonight?
No, it comes out... Again, they changed it and messed around with it. It comes out tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
Oh, it's 8 a.m. It's 8
they changed it. So, again, I said even tomorrow's episode, they could do some tiny, changes up until it airs. Because I remember before Rogue came out, we literally just found out that William Russell passed away, and they just quickly in time put his in memoriam, which is a bit weird because it's a shame his name is attached to that story, but that's neither here or there. But yeah, you get the point. Once upon a time, they commissioned a whole new season and a Christmas special off the back of one episode, whereas now we've got to wait until the full season comes out and wait for Disney's response, despite the fact that Disney will have already seen the episodes before we have.
Yeah.
By definition, obviously not going to see it at the same time as us. They're part of it. I mean, they're part of the production. They're
paid for it.
They're paid. They're in the discussions. They're involved in the making of it. Maybe not the day-to-day, management.
No, but they paid for it, so
it.
they'd want to see the finished product, Cinnamon. That's
they're
the
not
thing.
Well, but they know what's going on. They've seen what's happened. They're paying for a product. They're paying to have it on their platform. They know they know these episodes before we do. So why we've got to wait until it comes out? I mean, how long do we have to wait until the final episode comes out? How long do we wait? Is it the 3 episodes in? Is it after the final? Again, it's just there's no structure, there's no logic. Everything that was happened before is not happening now. Again, even the smallest of things. Why the constant lower episode count? For all the bigger budget, we have less episodes, and you can't argue. And I mean, yes, typically, I am someone who would prefer quality over quantity, but the fact remains, in 2005, we had less budget, and we had quality and quantity. We had both, didn't we? We had both. We had quality and the quantity. Okay, you get the odd episode like Fear Her, or the odd dud of the season, but still, for 10 or 11 out of 12, 13 episode season, the majority were good. So again, they can't hide behind that argument too. Oh well, less is more, or more is less, because we had both. Maybe this is a bit of having our cake and eating it, but too right, because we had it once upon a time. We had more episodes, and they were all of higher quality. Again, except for 1 or 2, whereas now the quality just isn't quite there anymore. For a lot of people, I'm still able to get something out of it, and there's less episodes. Do you know what I mean? It's all just gone completely down the Swanee.
Queen Charlotte is in the chat. Queen, do you want to come on and give your 2 cents on it? I'd welcome your opinion. You're always your opinions are always balanced, I have to say. So if you'd like to come on, let me know and I'll put the link in the chat there for you, or I'll send you an email, whatever you think is easier. If you want to come on, you obviously don't have to if you don't want to. But if you want to come on, the invite is there. Just let me know. So I have asked the question in the chat, guys. Do you think Doctor Who will survive? And John Michael Fink says no, it won't survive. Daniel, of course, is well, we know where Daniel stands on all of this. He says Disney would be hyping the show out of the ass if they were happy, but they aren't. Even Disney knows it's shy. Various things says I don't think it will survive, but it will return. Charlotte says she's happy to be in the chat for this one. That's no problem. I just thought I saw you there and I said, I'd ask you anyway. But it's nice to see you in the chat indeed. Lindsay says, no, not like this. So there are fans. Look. I think we've seen this coming a long time. What surprises me is that everybody else out there has been hoodwinked by all of the, it's doing well on Disney Plus, it's doing well on BBC. The overnights are not that bad. They are. When BBC have a hit show like Line of Duty, as I've said, and Line of Duty is coming back, by the way, Silent Witness, right? Call the Midwife, all of these shows, right? Well written, getting, as I said, 9-10 million views. There is no reason that Doctor Who shouldn't be doing similar, right? And this is the whole point that I've been trying to make for years. If the quality of the show was up there, we wouldn't be talking about hiatus or cancellation or anything like that, right? It's as simple as that. And as I said, the fans that have went along with this, the ones that I call sellouts, because you are, right? If you had actually stood up and said, you know what, they're right, the quality of this show isn't great. We see another thing as well I've noticed is fans out there, those fans, will not agree with someone like me or will not come out with the same opinion because to them, they're agreeing with us and they can't be seen to be agreeing with us, the bigots and the racists and the homophobes, as they call us, right? But you sold out. Yous are responsible. So look in the mirror today. Because if this show does go on hiatus, you're responsible. Not us. We tried to fucking save the show. And I know that's it's not ego or anything. We did. We tried to warn you, right? All you had to do was call these people out and say, no, you aren't doing it right. Especially you fans in a privileged fucking position. Right?
It's funny as well because I've seen a lot of tweets of them saying, well, the bigots will be, they'll claim this as a win and they'll be celebrating. We're not really celebrating. I mean, we're not bigots. You're the bigots.
No, I won't be celebrating.
We don't enjoy this.
No.
I mean, again, it's to the point where we've gotten to the point now where it doesn't matter, even if the season is absolutely terrible, like if it's just objectively widely regarded as a really bad season by a lot of fans, that doesn't matter. We've still got to rally behind it for some reason through sheer blind loyalty, because it's better to have absolutely dross Doctor Who and still have it on TV than no Doctor Who, apparently. I think the opposite. I would rather have Doctor Who not on TV than to constantly have its face dragged through the mud. Everything ends, and everything, there's only so long you can have a good thing. And when you have continuous failure after failure, clanger after clanger, if you're constantly hitting bumps in the road, again, I don't want Doctor Who to go away, but if you're constantly having bad after bad after bad moments, then clearly a change needs to happen, whatever that change may be, whether it's taking a break, waiting for someone new to pick it up. No, I don't actually want Doctor Who to go away. I don't like that. That actually is quite, not to sound dramatic or to be hyperbolic, but that's quite a bit of a bizarre situation. I don't know how I'd occupy myself. I didn't grow up in the wilderness years. Well, I did for the last few years. I was born in 2002. and in 20,
Well, see,
2003,
I did.
came back.
We got Lee. I think it's Lee in the chat. Lee in the studio. How am I going to figure out if it is actually Lee? Do you know, I'll take a chance. I hope this isn't, someone acting because we get that. But just before I bring him on, this is what Charlotte thinks. I think the higher ups have put a break right now. They will take time to look at what went wrong. Russell seems to be already preparing the fans for the pause. That's the way I see it. I have to be honest, I agree with you there 100%. Because why would he, and this is the point that I was trying to make to our man that's been attacking me, like why would 2 days before season 2 airs, he come out with something like that? You wouldn't.
It's bad optics, isn't it? I know that I don't particularly like that word optics, but it's just not clever. That's quite stupid.
Right,
Even if he is
this
lying,
is Lee. Right, let's see if this is Lee.
I think
I'm
it is.
taking
It's got to be.
It
There's
has to
only
be.
one problem being.
Hello.
It is, yeah! Just wanted to make sure because I put the link in the chat there.
You never
I
know
don't
where they
normally
are
do
these
that.
days. It could be
Yeah, never know.
them
I'll
bots.
get your opinion now in a minute, Lee. Just hang on. I just want to read out some more of these comments. I do care about the show a lot, and will watch reviews from a good few channels while sticking to the audios I actually like. Says various things. John Booth says, I want Doctor Who to survive, but with a new team, from writing, production staff to a new Doctor. That's what I'd ideally like to happen. But to be quite honest with you, at this stage, it's probably better off being put out of its misery, which is the sad thing. Bobby says it could survive maybe on Amazon. Time will tell. Fallout was a hit show on Amazon. That's what we need. John Michael Fink says, one day it's Hartnell to Capaldi for me. That's true, Doctor Who. Daniel, who's been very vocal lately, even though he's left the show, but he's vocal about, and rightly so. He's one of these fans that grew up with the New Who era that has been absolutely, totally devastated. What happened in this fan, what happened to the show. The sellouts are worse than RTD and Chibnall. They have enabled their crap for years, as I told you earlier, Noel. Absolutely. Queen Charlotte says people don't have an unlimited amount of patience and excitement. But there is zero excitement. I'll just read Lindsay's comment and then we'll bring Lee in. I feel sad about it all, but we aren't to blame, us true fans. And I agree with that. We've tried to warn them. Lee, what is you've obviously heard what RTD had to say. Now, what's your interpretation of what you heard from that little snippet of RTD?
Just confirms, what my source was telling me behind the scenes, what was happening. When I broke it on here, I think before anyone else, that Disney were out, and it's not something that I dreamt up. It's someone I trust. It's someone I trust as a source. He told me a lot of other things, but I swore I wouldn't say anything. But yeah, I mean, just as you were saying, Noel, and I've been saying this for a while as well. We tried to warn people. We were told everything was fine. We were told we're just bigots. We're just talking nonsense. Everything's hunky dory. But this is the problem when you have sort of a wishful mentality. You have this toxic positivity going on, which has been going on for a long time. If people want to talk about toxicity, well, let's address the other toxicity in the room. The toxic positivity where you're convinced that everything's fine and everything's amazing, everything's brilliant. When you've got people telling you the house is burning down, and you're going, no, it's fine,
No,
it's fine.
not. Stop it.
Yeah, what are you talking about, you crazy person? And it's not crazy. When you have hardcore fans of this show not wanting to tune in to watch it on mass numbers. That's telling you something. And that's just the hardcore fans. What about the general audience who are apathetic long before any of us? And you can't forget that. You have to remember it's not just the fans that keep the show alive, it's the general audience. And the general audience have checked out. Hardcore fans are checking out. You know, I've checked out. I'm not watching it. I've been watching this since 1979. And this is the first time a whole season has gone by that I haven't watched. Because after Davros Gate, that was it for me. And I vowed I would not return to it. And I stuck to it. And I think it's incumbent really upon people who, for the last 8 years, keep saying, I'm never going to watch it again. I'm talking to you, Noel. I'm never going to watch it again. Not doing it. And then you see a trailer, you go, oh, okay, I'll give it one more try.
Yeah, I have been guilty. I will admit I've been guilty of that. But that's because I still live in hope. To be honest with you, to explain that, it's because I live in hope that
a fool's paradise. Because,
but look, I get it.
I know you know it's your channel. You've got to cover it anyway, and I understand that. But for the general, you know, people in the chat here and stuff, you know, people who said they've had enough, and it's not just the fans who keep supporting this era and saying it's the best thing ever, but it's the fans who say, I don't like what I'm seeing, but I'm going to tune in anyway. You're just as culpable. You are aiding and abetting the crime against Doctor Who because you are actively giving eyes and therefore ratings to a show that will never change unless you stop. That's the only way. Now, we're at the situation where obviously we had this news round report, and bloody hell, hasn't news round really fallen through the floor? Remember when it used to be a serious news program for kids? Now it's just like la, 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 la. It's like Blue Peter on steroids. I don't know what's happening.
Do you even still have kids on it? I mean, there was a bloke asking the questions.
Yeah, it's weird. So yeah, I mean, it's very telling using the word pause twice. Now, remember back in 1989, they said, oh, it was going to be, you know, on hold for 5 years. You know, that's what they said, 5 years. 16 years later, you know. So I wouldn't hold much stock in that either, quite honestly. People might argue, oh, he's just, you know, covering his bases in case it doesn't come back, but it doesn't mean to say blah. Well, true, but we still don't have any clarification until allegedly after season 2 has aired. I still think there's a potential possibility of an announcement long before that. I think the ratings for the first episode will probably be a fair enough indicator of where it's heading. So we'll have to wait for that to come in. I can't imagine actually that particularly if Ncuti has left, that they can hold off announcing something before the end of the season. Because if he is leaving, is there a regeneration scene? Is there a sort of, you know, any sort of situation where...
Well, I don't know if you heard, though. Sorry, Ted is angry as well at RTD. But did you not see the latest article from BBC? Ncuti is now doing another Shakespeare play. So, and he let slip on a BBC Radio, what was a BBC Radio 4 interview that he was gifted his sonic screwdriver.
Yeah. Which is, we know, is you know, your retirement, you know, gift.
Yeah, because Jodie got hers, didn't she?
Yeah, they all usually take a bit of the TARDIS or something when they leave. I mean, another thing as well, if it let's just say that they do announce that he's leaving, just hypothetically after the second or third episode, because again, it's kind of any day now, because they're leaving it a bit late. No, apart from, and correct me if I'm wrong, but apart from Eccleston, obviously they announced he was leaving after his first episode. They usually announce the departure of a Doctor like well in advance of their last season, don't they? Usually.
Yeah, but they're
The
probably
season
not doing
starts
it because
tomorrow.
you're all forgetting he also has wrote the spin-off, hasn't he? The
Well, hold
CD
on.
spin-off.
Eccleston, correct me if I'm wrong, because my memory is not so good, but wasn't his announcement that he was leaving announced like after the first episode was aired, or was it before? I can't remember.
I think it was after. I think
It
it
was
was after.
after.
I think it'll be quite interesting to see if you get a similar situation where after the first episode is aired and then the ratings come in. I expect there to be an announcement if he's leaving or if the show's ending, that it will be announced after that first episode.
I
Because
hope it's announced.
we've only got a couple of weeks. This is this thing.
Yeah, but I
like,
hope it is announced. Listen, I would love to see the announcement in the next. I would love to see the announcement after the first episode. There are fans, I think, as well. Though I think it is kind of, whether it's RTD himself or Disney have decided to not make any announcement. Yeah, I think it's actually bang out of order. Why keep fans waiting? RTD has been coming out with all of these cryptic messages before the season even airs. Like, just get it done and over with. If the show is going on hiatus, just tell us so we can all then.
The reason is obvious. It's because they want to get as many people watching it as possible, and some vainglorious hope that it's gonna save the sinking ship or whatever.
I suppose if you tell
that's
people that this is the last one, and people think, well, what's the point of
Charlotte in the chat has asked what you think the ratings will be. Charlotte has asked you all in the chat there what you think the ratings will be. So if you want to in the chat tell us what you think the ratings will be for the return episode, please do that and I'll throw it up on screen. But if I remember correctly, the last episode got, what was it, 2.3 million views. If you're asking me, I think the dip will continue. And I think we might be looking at a situation by the time we get to the third or fourth episode, we could be looking at under 2 million views in the overnights. I think it will dip. And we were saying this during the Chibs era, could it go down possibly any further, and it kind of leveled off a bit. But since RTD has come in, the show has steadily declined even further in the ratings. I actually think we're looking at under 2 million views for some episodes coming up this season, which is not. I don't care what the fans out there say that support this. Listen, if this was a success, we wouldn't be even sitting here today talking about hiatus, right? Disney would already have made up their mind. They wouldn't be dragging their heels.
I predict that the lowest rated episode will be the Eurovision one because it is the most expensive, and it's just that kind of thing that will probably be the situation where that would be the lowest. Because things like that tend to happen, don't they?
I mean, they're not even going to air it, either. There's a chance it might not
potential.
Even...
Yeah, I am praying for extra time, and I don't even like football, but I would be more than happy.
I hope it's a very drab, boring game, a 0-0, and has to go extra time, and then still has 0-0, and goes to penalties. I hope it's the worst final of all time.
True. Because look, it's what they deserve, though. I'm sorry, but I hate to be so cynical, but it's what they all deserve. They should have listened. Listen, I'm not saying they should exclusively have listened to us all these years, but if they had took on board some of the points that we were making about the quality of the show and the reason why it's failing in the ratings, I don't think they'd be in this situation. And on top of that as well, you've got fans like, I don't want to bring them up, but I'm going to bring them up. But Therese is out there saying that we should get behind season 2 now after the RTD video. So you're saying we should just support it blindly, even if it is shit. And someone made that point, I think it was cynical on X.
Well.
Why would you blindly support?
They've been doing that for years. And this is where we're at, because they didn't question anything, they didn't push back on anything. Even when they knew the writing was bad with Chibnall, it took them till after Chibnall left for them to say, well, actually, yeah, it was pretty kind of bad. It's like, well, you should have said at the time, instead of telling us we were all wrong, crazy and evil and bigoted and nut jobs and, not my doctors and all this nonsense. You should have said and spoken up at that time. And then, because you were the only people they were listening to.
Yeah.
And you had a voice and you could have saved the show by pushing back then. But because you were toadying and trying to get your access, trying to get your invites to the premieres and trying to, wangle your way in to the elite, this is what's happened. Now you're the king of nothing. It's just like Eldrad, you become.
And that's the thing that annoys me. Those fans in privileged positions could have made a difference. They really could have. But they didn't want to come out and criticize because they didn't want to be, associated with the so-called bigots in the fandom or the ones that we're calling it out. But,
this is where your ideology eats you up because you're so committed to your ideological framework that you lose sight of the bigger picture. You lose sight of the fact that the very thing that you're so-called fighting to protect, which is ironic considering you've helped drive it to the floor, is exactly that. You've aided its demise because you refuse to listen, and it's because bigotry is the unwillingness to listen to other people's opinions. That's what bigotry means. It's a very sort of intense refusal to acknowledge that another opinion can even exist other than your own. That's bigotry. That's the root cause of bigotry. And now, because of that, you're now in the situation where the very thing that you claimed to want to protect and want to support has actually just aided in its demise, because you will not speak up, you will not criticize, you will not speak to power. And that power is the man who says you can't say no to me. No one dares say no to me. That's RTD or Chipnall or wherever else. It's not a democracy. Remember that. And because of these people,
sellouts. Sorry,
it's not a democracy, but yet we have to put the bill and pay for the license fee.
The chief sellouts really are Russell T Davies and Chibnall. They're the chief sellouts, and
but it's a part
that they are. The king rats that they are. The rats followed, and this is where we're at.
They all need to look at themselves in the mirror. You've had an opportunity.
We'll get the blame. You know that.
We're getting the blame. Yeah, I'm going to get the blame. I'm already getting the blame. I'm already getting the blame.
We'll get the John Boyega treatment.
Yeah, listen,
we're going to get the John Boyega treatment.
I'm already getting DMs already calling me a bigot and a homophobe and transphobic already. I've gotten the message today. Something
new then. Something new.
So, as I said to those fans, I've heard it all before.
That hasn't worked. That hasn't worked for 8 years. So, them continuing to apply this line of thinking, which is not thinking at all, is exactly the same mentality that drove the fans that you criticize away. It was not only the showrunners and their insane, gambit to change Doctor Who out of all recognition, but their lapdogs in the fandom that aided and abetted their crime against Doctor Who, and they drove fans away as much as the show did, and then wonder why the show's getting cancelled potentially. Well, maybe you should look closer to home instead of just keep going, oh, you're bigots, you're this, you're that. Well, you are the reason why people left. You celebrated that people left. And then you sit there crying, why is my show being cancelled potentially? Well, maybe it's because you were a dick. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe that plays into it.
No, you're right.
Yeah, maybe don't stir the shit if you don't like the smell. Maybe it's
exactly.
just,
Yeah, don't piss in the kettle and switch it on and then complain. This is the problem. Ultimately, they can never look inwardly. They're always looking externally for all their problems rather than facing their own inner struggle to realize that maybe there's something not quite right sitting with them, and it's not everyone else's problem or everyone else's fault. You know, we were the ones, the canaries in the coal mine, going, "This is not going to work."
But you know what's sad, Lee? There's two of us on this panel, right, that are going to probably witness Doctor Who come off air again. This has happened to us twice now. Obviously, the 80s, and now it seems history is repeating itself. And I just want to make clear, you know, people out there think I'll be celebrating, and I've said this a few times. I know there will be some fans out there that have been hurt and have been treated like shit will celebrate. But I certainly celebrating. It is heartbreaking. This show, see, mentioned this a few times on this channel, and people have mentioned it on other channels. You know, BBC seem to not understand what they have. They do have a golden goose here if it was actually treated with respect and done properly. This show could make them a shit ton more money than what they have made with Doctor Who over the years if it was done properly. You just have to look at RTD1 and the Moffat era, especially during that 50th anniversary. I mean, that was the height of New Who right there. Everybody was talking about it. Merch was flying off the shelves. Everybody went to the cinema to see the fucking 50th.
I did.
Even I did. I'm telling you, man, it was amazing to see Irish Doctor Who fans because, you know, I didn't realise how popular Doctor Who was in Ireland. I know how popular it was in the UK. But when I went to the cinema to see the 50th and I seen all of these Irish Doctor Who fans, it made me for once in my life to be proud of Doctor Who and to stick out my chest and say, yeah, I am a Doctor Who fan and I'm proud of it. Now it's become, like it did in the late 80s, it's become an embarrassment again. And it's heartbreaking. This is the second time that this is going to happen to us, Lee, if it does.
Yeah, but at the time it came off air the first time, you know, even though I had struggled with Sylvester McCoy's era at the time, it was still it was still the same show. It's still the show I love, and I missed it. I didn't have that kind of time to get used to the idea or to grieve that it had gone awry for 8 years, because it hadn't. My situation is very different now because I've come to terms with it now, because I've gone through the several stages of grief, because I've seen it decline and die in front of my eyes for 8 years.
Yeah.
And 8 years is a long time to get used to an idea, you know, and it died. And I went through the stages of grief, and now I've come to peace with it. So I don't really feel anything about it anymore because I've come to terms with it. I still have my classic Who. I will still keep watching that. I've been rewatching that. I've got my season 7 box set, which is a slight disappointment because I just don't think they put enough effort into it. I know it's
there's not many special features on that one. It's as much
not
as
even a 5.1 surround sound, no special additions.
They've got like, what was it? They're stuck like at a less. I can't remember what it was exactly, but they've got like a thing where it says, "Oh, you can watch it in the original." Well, why would I want to watch it in like worse quality?
Well, like, it's the 90-minute edits, which are better than the Ben Cook edits. Let's put it that way. But why would I buy a season 7 box set in order to watch 90-minute cut down versions? And there's nothing else. Not interested. So yeah, a bit jarring, that one. I was a bit upset with that, but hey ho.
Yeah, but you still bought. This is the thing. You still bought the box set. You bought Classic Who, and Classic Who will always be the definitive version, and the version that fans like yourself
thing about
will actually lock up on boy. You know what I mean? And it seems to me that, as you said, they don't seem to be putting much effort into.
Because they knew it would sell.
They know it'll sell. Exactly.
They put a lot of effort into the season 25 box set, because that's one of the sort of more weaker seasons. So they had to really pull out all the stops. But because it's season 7, the most sought after, one of the most sought after, if not the most sought after season of Doctor Who, they, apart from all the hard work, I know they put a lot of hard work into the color restoration process, but unfortunately it wasn't very successful. because they didn't have enough time. What they should have done is waited until AI technology was to the point where they could fix. And nowadays, I think if you were to take your season 7 box set and ran it through an AI today, you could probably fix so many of the issues with a click of a bloody prompt.
That's why they'd even dare to even contemplate even using that, would they?
Well, that's the thing.
What
It's like
they're
the technology's there, but they admitted that the technology they use hadn't evolved much since the DVDs. So it was like, well, why did you use that? And why didn't you just embrace the AI and do that instead? I mean, it's not
Here's the
perfect,
good
but I'm
news,
sure they
though.
could have done better.
There is a silver lining here, though. If the show does go on a hiatus, then this is going to give fans the opportunity, I mean, proper fans the opportunity, with the advent of AI and all now, to start creating their own Doctor Who content. Because,
Yeah.
The fans will be hungry, especially us that will miss the show. There will be people out there that will start creating their own, and fans like us will probably get behind it because it'll be better than that and that.
Well,
we've got the last few years.
Daryl Joyce did some fantastic artwork for Classic Who. He's done calendars and books and things, and he's done some incredible Doctor Who art for Classic Doctor Who. And now he's got his own YouTube channel, and he's doing his own animations of his own artwork with using AI, and it's phenomenal. So as a tool, working in combination with his own artistic talents shows you how to apply AI in a way that's more unique and embraces both the true artistic reality of an artist, and not just prompting something and then it creates it from scratch. He's applying animation to his own artwork that he's made himself. That's fantastic, and it looks great.
Yeah,
I think
the
there's
point.
an
You
opportunity.
can have the creative vision should be yours, but then you should use a tool that has been there and helpful, and use that tool to extend, to bring your vision to life. So again, like you say, if he's got his own style, that's his style that he's personally crafted.
I find it quite amusing, that we've got these stands for this era, and their reaction to things like AI is so hostile because they're like, it's gonna ruin my chances in the art world, or it's gonna destroy this, that, the other. And I understand there's a lot of people who are a bit wary of it.
Yeah, it can't be abused, though. I do agree with that.
But it's quite interesting that these are the same people who keep banging on about change and progress, but they are afraid of AI. It's like, you have to embrace it. It's a tool. It's not a replacement for talent. If you use it in combination with talent,
what I mean. It's if you've got a vision like Daryl, if he's using his own style or his own artwork, and then he's using this as a tool, which it should be, to bring that to life. And I've seen some of his work, and it's really, really good. It's it's the same sort of thing. We heard about the internet. It's going to take jobs away. Actually, it created more jobs. And if something like AI can help with the more repetitive, mundane tasks that help with crunch time when it comes to maybe video games or etc., that allows the artist, instead of again, once upon a time you'd have to pixelate and place each individual pixel or blade of grass. Now that can be done rather quickly. So now more time is now allocated to the more expression and the more creative side of it.
Yeah. But it also, with AI, you can get stuff. I mean, if they'd use this on the season 7 box set, my God, it can sharpen the most blurriest images into like full 4K, and not miss a trick. I think it's getting to that point where that's why I think they should have held off for that box set. But speaking of fans and the future of Doctor Who, I think we have to be very guarded, because this is not the end of the battle, right? The battle continues for the soul of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Who in the future is going to bring it back? Is it going to be the Fitzroys? Is it going to be the stands of the Fitzroys? You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Or Is it going to be someone completely different, removed? This is the thing. We have to now be aware that during the next oncoming hiatus, who are the movers and shakers that are going to seize control? Bearing in mind, Big Finish is still in production. So
this just sort of perfectly encapsulates the viewpoint of some people. I put out a tweet basically talking about the whole, I'd rather have no Doctor Who than awful Doctor Who, and someone's just chimed back. Thankfully, the show's never truly been awful. I'm not sure what planet he's been living on.
yeah,
Because it's
but
you're probably the one.
I was speaking to Jack about this yesterday, and it was Jack who said that this is just the start, really, of the next battle. This is just the beginning. It's not an end, because this is the time now when people are going to be jostling.
Yes.
Kind of.
Yes.
Get into the right positions in order to bring it
exactly.
back in the future. So yeah, you've got to be very guarded and aware, and even when the show's off, you've got to keep abreast of who is jostling to take it on. And that's going to be a process that could be ranging from next week to 5 years, 10 years in the future. So if you're still interested and you're still keen on the future of the show, you have to stay interested to the point that you've got to keep an eye on what's happening or who's involved, and you've got to be vocal about supporting whatever it is or dissenting. And we've never shied away from dissent before, and we have been, so far as it's looking, proven correct. So it's I take no pleasure in that. No one takes pleasure in this. Okay, this is not a place where we want it to be. It's not anything we asked for. It's everything we warned against, but we were ignored and vilified, rather than people actually going, maybe they've got a point, whether we like it or not. But the general audience, have decided. And when you lose over half your fandom, and this mythical new audience failed to materialize in that YouGov poll, proving that classic Doctor Who is still more popular, and that the younger generation are not engaged with it to the point of, what was it, 38% or whatever it was, who don't even know what Doctor Who is. I think there's a lot of work needs to be done in order to resurrect it in the first place. But I think, as I say, my main contention is that 5 years isn't enough. 10 years probably still isn't enough, because, as I said before, the audience needs to forget what it's been doing for the last few years, and also enough time to pass to miss Doctor Who, to forget the past few years, but to remember when it was good and to miss it.
Exactly.
And that takes a long time.
Yeah.
And if you were to try and rush to bring it back in 2 or 3 years or whatever, it's too soon. People will still be, oh God, not this again, because they'll be fixated on their lives. Time will pass quickly, and then it'll be like, oh, it's back again. I'm still not watching it.
Right, look, I have to be very careful of me time, right? Because, as you know, I've only got the 5 hours, so we're gonna have to wrap up now, guys. I'd love to go a bit longer, but I can't. I have to keep. So I've got me reviews to do of this shit. So we're gonna have to leave it there. But if you want to end with one parting little thing before we end, go ahead now, because I really have to wrap up, and I'm bleeding starving as well. I've got me eggs on, so I have to keep an eye. I don't actually boil them to death. So
keep your eye on Noel's eggs.
Yeah, keep me an eye on Noel's eggs. So, Cinnamon, go on, do your social media shout outs there. We will come back to this. Obviously, as the season goes on, the episodes go on, we're going to have plenty of discussion and conversation. And, it's going to be a bit of a whirlwind ride now. These next, 8 weeks or whatever it is. I can't even remember how many fucking episodes they're doing now. That's how bad it is. But don't worry. tomorrow we're going to be visiting the planet of incels, so it should be absolutely, entertaining.
That sounds
In
like
that
a
regard.
real ratings grabber, that one.
Yeah, that one does, doesn't it? Anyway,
It's just inviting the audience in, doesn't it? It really
that's
just like
it.
brings people.
That's it. But go on, Cinnamon, do your social media shout outs there.
Yeah, so I'm Cinnamon Toast Crunch. You're probably already subscribed to it anyway. I think most people are. But yeah, same name, same channel, same content, talking about the same old tired show that refuses to change. A bit like this country, Doctor Who needs reform. Maybe not that reform, actually competent
What you mean the
reform.
controlled opposition? Yeah.
Yeah, it needs change. Again, like we said, we don't enjoy this. I don't want this. I don't want. I'd rather have no Doctor Who than bad Doctor Who. But I'm not sat here
exactly.
as someone who was born in those early 2000s. Again, I came on at the very, very, very end of the wilderness years. I don't even the concept of not having Doctor Who for 10, 15 years, like that's a big chunk of my life that could print. I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen, but just as a possibility, that the fact that we could go through something like that again.
Yeah, but then
It's not.
when it does come back, assuming it does come back, your passion for it will be revived to a point,
Hopefully.
like it did with us.
Yeah, hopefully. I hope that does happen again. I hope in my lifetime, I'll end by saying this. I hope if this does go on hiatus, right? I hope in my lifetime I get to see Doctor Who thrive again. That's all I've ever wanted, right? I
There's
don't
always
want
light at the end of the tunnel. Again, the world was a different place 15 years ago. I'd imagine it'll be a very, very different 15 years in the future.
Nobody wanted this, and that's the point. None of us wanted this.
I will say as my closing statement, because
Go
I've got
on.
nothing really to promote, is that to say it needs to go away. It does. It needs a good rest. And if there is a zeal to bring it back, that's great. But just be careful. I'd stay guarded. This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
And just I would advise the BBC or anyone who's involved with it in the future, be very, very sure who you let through the door.
Exactly.
Make sure that they have the best interest of the show and the characters at heart, and not ideology, not their personal beliefs. Leave it at the bloody door.
Yeah.
And bring in good writers. And I would say just let it rest, let it settle, and make sure, test the water. Make sure you don't rush in. Only fools rush in. You've got to give it time for people to forget and for people to miss it. So if you rush to bring it back, it's just not going to have the same effect. And I would...
You know what they say? Wise men say only fools rush in. Because I can't help falling in love with you. Anyway, we'll leave it there, folks. I will be back to review this nonsense. I'm not getting me hopes up. The are absolutely terrible. But it's going to be a very interesting 8 or so weeks.
Yeah,
so come and join me there. Dan from the Spacebook will also be doing his reviews. Bolstrek has actually announced that he will be reviewing this shit show as well. I know some of you like his reviews. Rabbi, the usual suspects will be reviewing this train wreck. So come and join us all. And I know some people will just come in and watch our streams rather than watch the actual episodes. So we thank you for that. And we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. I'll have to figure out a way of watching it now because, I'm not giving BBC a view. I'll say it out straight. They're not getting a view off me. I'll find a way around that anyway, as you do. But, yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
Twice. I went from 15, whatever it was, and then to 30. So, yeah. I thought maybe I missed a month, but I didn't. Cheeky buggers.
Anyway, we'll leave it there, folks. Thank you for joining us in the chat and taking part. And we will all see you tomorrow for the shit show that is Doctor Who. And, goodbye. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your day. And I'm off now to rescue my fucking eggs. Here we go.